President Yoon's surprise trip to Ukraine is where we start our news special. He and his wife were in Ukraine on Saturday, the first by a South Korean leader to visit a nation at war. Our presidential office correspondent Soo-young in Poland was traveling with the president before he made the sudden trip across the border. Soo-young, the president announced a series of commitments for Ukraine's troops and restoration efforts. Tell us more.
Good afternoon, Jungmin. Yes, indeed. President Yoon Suk Yeol, in his high-stakes trip to Ukraine, sat down with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, reaffirming total support for Ukraine's efforts for peace and recovery as Russia's invasion of the country continues. The two leaders agreed on a new support package for Kyiv, which they labeled the Ukraine Peace and Solidarity Initiative, consisting of stronger military, humanitarian, and reconstruction support from Seoul. Now, Yoon did not announce any lethal weapon support, but pledged to expand supplies of critical equipment for Ukrainian forces.
Specifically, we can happily conclude that an agreement on the transfer of specialized vehicles and technical equipment, including for demining, is already being implemented. This helps us preserve human lives. Thank you, Mr. President, for new initiatives on financial, technical and humanitarian aid to Ukraine.
Now, Seoul plans to increase humanitarian aid by $50 million, around 30% compared to last year, to $150 million in 2023. Now, President Yoon also noted that around $100 million has been allocated for long-term low-interest loans in a bilateral MOU signed by the two sides on funding Ukraine's various reconstruction projects. This all comes after Yoon on Thursday announced Seoul had forged a three-way system with Kyiv and Warsaw to provide governmental support for recovery ventures and cooperation, with an estimated $52 billion worth of private and public initiatives already in the works, spanning nuclear power plants, airport and rail facilities, as well as advanced urban infrastructure. Yoon and Zelenskyy further agreed to cooperate on nurturing Ukraine's future generations by rebuilding education systems and facilities, as well as creating a special scholarship named after the two leaders for Ukrainian students in South Korea.
Right, and Soo-young, there was some speculation about a possible meetup with President Zelenskyy in Ukraine, so it may not have come as a complete surprise for the press corps, but it was still surprising and significant.
That's right, Jungmin. You really couldn't discount the significance of this trip at all, with President Yoon Suk Yeol, to quote him directly, representing South Koreans in their unwavering support for Ukrainians as they continue to withstand Russia's invasion for 17 months now. Here's what the president had to say.
우크라이나의 연대와 희망의 메시지를 전하기 위해 여기에 왔습니다. 저는 저와 우리 국민은 우크라이나가 자유를 되찾을 때까지 국권을 회복할 때까지 여러분들과 함께 할 것입니다.
Now, for those of us who were speculating, even placing bets, it seemed like a real 50-50, as it was indeed a very high-stakes trip and would also perhaps raise eyebrows in the likes of Moscow or Beijing, as countries like Russia would be quite disgruntled by South Korea's positioning of supporting Ukraine. But for the South Korean president, showing South Korea's solidarity with Ukrainians, as well as hold liberal democratic values of peace, freedom, prosperity all around the world, this took unparalleled priority over his own safety, as well as these growing geopolitical complexities. Showing his support prior to the summit, Yoon visited cities near the Ukrainian capital, which were some of the worst affected by Russia's invasion since early 2022. President Yoon traveled to Bucha, a city whose people suffered brutal war crimes and massacre by Russian forces. Yoon also toured Irpin, where this fighting had led to nearly 70% of the city being destroyed. The president, surrounded by this devastation and reconstruction efforts in these Ukrainian cities, he later cast hope for the country's future, based on South Korea's own rise from the ashes of war in modern history, talking about the miracle on the Han, how that could actually cast hope for Ukraine's own miracle on the Dnipro River.
All right, thanks, Soo-young, for your reporting. Hope you have a safe flight back home.